Hey, thank you for joining me today. Just another motivational message for you. Today, I wanted to talk to you about your breakthrough. You know, in Psalms 126:5, it talks about those who sow in tears will reap in joy. And you understand about sowing seeds and going through that period where you have to sow seeds so that you can reap your harvest. And in these times right now, I get online a lot of days and I'm looking and I'm like, man, you look up at the news and you see all the killings, you see everything that's going on in the White House, you see all of the police brutality, and you look around at the relationships, iconic couples that you've seen for years going through divorce. And then you look just even in the grocery store, the prices raising, on your bread and your milk, but your income is the same. And a lot of times we get stuck and we go through this period where you are being pruned and you are being tested and you feel like giving up. You feel like throwing in the towel. And you get to the point to where you look at your life, and one thing I want you to understand, if this is not you right now, get ready. Get ready because it's coming. I just sent a message to a young lady the other day and I told her, we all go through seasons in our life, and you have to be prepared for that winter. And for us that's in the winter, in that moment, you feel like, man, why me? What did I do wrong? Like, what did I do to deserve this? Like, what's going to give? What's going to change? And you can get desperate. You can get desperate and you can get down and you feel like just going to get another job. You feel like leaving that relationship. You feel like walking out. You feel like turning your back on things because your hopes and your dreams have been deferred and it's not happening right now. I remember years ago, a pastor told me on a call, he said, Tony, just because it's delayed does not mean it's denied. And I want to remind you of that trust the process. We've been hearing this over and over, trust the process. And what that means is that in the process, when you are being tested, if you lose your car, if you lose your house, if you get evicted, you're paying rent, if you lose a relationship, if a loved one dies, if you lose a friendship that you've had for years, that's the process. But in that process, what you have to do is look at every single thing and say, you know what can this teach me? What can this teach me? I was talking to my mother one time. I was in this season in my life to where, things had gone up and things were high. And I was booming in my business and things were great. And then it went back down. And see, we've always heard what goes up comes down. And sometimes when you're up, you cannot fathom going down. You cannot see yourself coming down on the other side, but life happens in seasons. And when I went down at first, I was like, whoa, Lord, did you curse me? Like, what did I do wrong? Why is this happening? And people were depending on me in that season. So I had people who they had all their hopes and dreams in me. They were riding my coattail. They were on my back. And that's what happens sometimes when you're carrying people. And because they were riding on my coattail, when I didn't have a coat myself to put on, guess what? They had nothing to ride and they started to lose the things that were depending on me. So, I had family members who I was paying their mortgage or helping with their car note or helping with, their gymnastics for their child. And when I started to go through, guess what they went through? And I remember in this season, my mother called me and she said, son, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. How am I going to get through this? Like, I need some help. And one side of me was kind of upset, and the other side of me, I talked to her and I said, Mom, guess what? There's one thing that I've learned. There's one thing that I've learned about God is that sometimes he can be a fourth quarter, fourth down with 4 seconds and 40 yards to go type of God. That you can be in a position where you are on fourth down in the fourth quarter with 4 seconds, and the touchdown is 40 yards away. And guess what? It's in those moments that God will show up if you believe. And she was talking to me. She said, boy, you got some faith on you. I got to work on my faith. And I said, you know what? I had to realize that unless I believe, remember, a double-minded man receives nothing from the Lord. Unless I believe, I will never receive. Because see, what happens is when you're on this path, when you're moving forward, what the adversary, the enemy, the devil, what he wants you to do is give up. And the reason why he wants you to give up is because he wants you to curse God. He wants you to curse the day you were born. He wants you to dishonor your mother and father. He wants you to break all ties from your friends and your family, the people who are holding you together. He wants you to isolate yourself so that he can destroy you. He wants you to pull yourself out so that no one will be able to hear your screams. He wants you to miss the lessons. He wants you to miss those lessons because he knows that those lessons are prerequisites for your blessings. And that if you can get those lessons when it feels like you're losing it all, when it feels like nothing is going your way, if you can just sit down and have a moment to where you look within and you stop pointing the blame, you stop blaming this person, blaming that person, and you look within and you say, what can I learn from this? If you can do that in that moment, guess what? Your breakthrough is right beyond that point. At the point that you feel like giving up. See, people are committing suicide, and every few seconds, somebody's taking their own life. And you yourself may be in that place right now. Or maybe you may be there in a week, or maybe you were just there last week and you're just holding on by a thread. I want to remind you that your breakthrough is right on the other side of your breakdown. That when it looks like everything in the world will go wrong and nothing is going to work in your favor, that's when you're about to be ushered into a new season. But see, the purpose of this season, the purpose of this valley, the purpose is so that you can get the lessons that will sustain you at the top. We see millionaires go broke. We see billionaires go broke. We see these young men go from college. They come from the hood. They get in college. They ball out in college. They go from college. They go to the NFL or the NBA. Now they have all this money. Now they spend all of their money. They spend all their money because they've never been taught about what to do with their money. And then the next thing that happens when they retire, they're bankrupt. I mean, I've talked to guys, men and women, who made a lot of money, and right on the other side of that money, they're flat broke. And the reason why they are flat broke is because they did not have an opportunity. They didn't understand to get the lessons when they were in the struggle. So they were in the struggle and they were taken from struggle to success. But in that struggle, they missed all of the wisdom. In that struggle, they ignored the lessons. And now you get your blessing, and the blessing becomes a snare. So it's not really a blessing in that sense. It's a snare, and it trips you up, and you lose it all. So if you have not been to that place, if you've never been a 100,000-aire, if you've never been a millionaire, and you are still going there, if you've not had your dream car or your dream job or your dream house, but you're still moving towards it, I want you to look right now and see, what can I learn? What is God trying to teach me about me that will sustain me in the next season? So I'm going to tell you what I learned when I was going through that period, and I was in that struggle, and I'm like, man, what is going on? And everybody's depending on me. Everybody's counting on me. And tell you what I learned. While I was there, I started to look within. And I started to realize that I was raised broke-minded. That I saw my value in the things that I could possess. So that being successful meant I had to have a Rolls Royce or a 6-bedroom mansion. That being successful meant that I had to have a lot of jewelry and a lot of fancy things, and that I was broke-minded, and that if I could not manage 20,000, I came to realize that I could not manage 100,000. And then guess what? I could not manage 200,000. And then I could not manage 300,000. Then I could not manage 400 or 500,000. And it kept going. And then guess what? I was taken back from the 500,000 back to 200,000. And at that 200,000, now my lifestyle had went to 300,000. So now I was 100,000 in the deficit, and in that deficit, I made a decision. I made a decision in the deficit to grow, to learn. And I taught myself how to change my mindset, how to become a better person, how to grow, and how to prepare for that next level, to prepare for that next season. And see, when you get that lesson, when God realizes, oh, okay, you got the lesson. You got the lesson. See, your lesson is just like when people playing a video game and you just got to hit certain points, and you get to a certain point and you open a certain door, or you kill a certain adversary, it takes you to the next level. As long as you're stuck, as long as you're on the same level, I need you to understand that you are there. You are stuck because you're not learning. We've heard the quote, it's not a loss if you learn from it. As soon as you show that you have learned the lesson, you're going to be given a period of time that you get to show that you've learned that lesson. In that period of time, you're going to be tested by the adversary, and God's going to be sitting there watching, because the good book said that God tempts no man, because he's not going to tempt you because he doesn't want to break you or make you fall. But the adversary has all dominion over the earth, and he can do whatever he want to do, and God will only allow him to do what he knows you can bear. He won't put more on you than you can bear. He'll say, you know what, you can touch him, but don't kill him. You can touch him, but don't kill him. You can touch everything around him, but spare her, spare him, because I got a work for them to do. I have a work, they have a purpose to be carried out. And he's saying, no, let me touch him, because I'm going to prove to you that they're unfaithful. So remember all of this in your season, and ask yourself right now in your season, how are you performing? Are you showing that you can be trusted? Are you showing that you are ready for the next level? Because see, God won't put anything more on you than you can bear. And what I mean by that is, if you want a breakthrough, but you're behind the scenes, do not look like your highlight reel. God will not move you to that next level, because the things that you are doing behind the scenes that no one else can see but him, he knows that those inner battles will destroy you if you have too much money or too much fame or too much success. If you have too much opportunity, if you have, if you're raised up on your job too quick, too fast, and you go from just a normal associate to the manager or supervisor, and then up to the CEO, and then owning your own business, he knows that if you didn't take care of those little demons that you were warring with, that you were in that spiritual warfare with, if you didn't handle that, now if you add money to it, you add success to it, you add more open doors to it, those things will destroy you. And that's why we see so many people destroyed by success. So understand that your struggle is just a prerequisite for your success. And how you perform under pressure, how you perform in the struggle will determine how long you last at the top. So don't be confused. Don't get down. And I post this stuff and I see people, come in the comments and they'll say, oh, I'm tired of believing this. Oh, I'm tired of hearing this. Oh, I'm tired of this feel-good gospel. I'm tired of all of this stupid stuff I'm going through. I'm struggling and I'm hurting. And what I say to you is what you believe is what you will receive. You will not receive a blessing if you don't believe it's possible. You will not receive your breakthrough if you don't believe there's even a door to walk through. So today I want you to sit down with yourself. I want you to analyze your behaviors. Analyze the things that you've been saying to yourself. Really look at your thought patterns. Look at your thought patterns. What are you saying to yourself? What are you speaking over your life? Are you speaking life or are you speaking death? Are you speaking abundance or are you speaking scarcity? Are you speaking health? Are you speaking wealth? Or are you speaking poverty and brokenness? Are you operating from a place of pain? Or are you operating from a place of peace? Are you operating from a place of love? Or are you operating from a place of self-hate? A place of unforgiveness, a place of bitterness and brokenness. You've been battered, you've been torn apart, and you're just sulking in that place and you're making excuses instead of making changes. I have a quote that I sent out years ago and said, don't make excuses, make changes. And I know you've heard it all over the place from your grandmother and everybody else, but we never take heed. And the reason why we don't take heed is because the truth is so painful. But the truth is so painful, and it's so painful, that's why they call it growing pains. Because when you are confronted with the truth requires change. So a lot of times we will live in our lives and we will believe our lies and we will keep telling ourselves the lies, and then we will take and surround ourselves with liars. We will surround ourselves with enablers. We will surround ourselves with people who will be yes men because we don't want to hear the truth. We don't want to hear it because we know that it is going to require a change, and a change is painful. A change is painful because a change is uncomfortable. And it's uncomfortable because you have to get uncomfortable in order to be great. You have to get uncomfortable in order to go to the next level. So embrace the struggle, embrace those growing pains, and get prepared. Learn right now and become 100% content. 100% content in the space you're in. I talked to my wife in the struggle, and we were sitting in that struggle, and I said, baby, I don't care if we lose a house. I don't care if we lose cars. I don't care what we lose. As long as we have breath, as long as we have one another, I believe God sits on the throne, and I know things will turn around. I know it will not be like this. And we had to keep the faith, and we had to keep pressing, and we had to speak it into existence. And guess what? It's always a breakthrough. So keep going. Lift yourself up. Speak life into yourself. Evaluate what you're watching, what you're listening to, and who you're surrounding yourself with. And make sure that in this season, or in your valley season, whenever it comes, that you get the lessons. Embrace the struggle. It's Tony Gaskins. God bless you.